Welcome to the 16th edition of Dialogue with the Experts, presented by Prime Point Foundation, e-magazine Presence, and NextGen Political Leaders. Every 26th of November, every year, is being celebrated as the Constitution Day. This year also, we are celebrating from the Prime Point Foundation and NextGen Political Leaders and e-magazine Presence, the Constitution Day. In order to know more about the Constitution Day and about the significance of fundamental duties, we have invited Mr. Purvesh, a senior advocate in Supreme Court with 20 years of standing and advocate on record in Supreme Court of India, to share some of his views. Welcome, Mr. Purvesh. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for calling me.
At a very short notice.
Thank you, sir.
How is Delhi now?
Delhi is suffering, sir. There are not many elements that Delhi have. We need to overcome everything.
Everything. And now I think the cold winter also is starting now.
Winter is also started.
Yes. Sir, every year we are celebrating the Constitution Day. What is the significance of the Constitution Day? Why we are celebrating Constitution Day?
Sir, I would like to answer this question in two parts. The first part is that the 26th of November is the day on which the Constitution Assembly adopted the Constitution. And that is the significance of 26th November on which the Constitution came to be adopted by the Constituent Assembly. And that day is been celebrated as National Law Day since then. But in the year 2015, the Government of India declared 26th of November as a Constitution Day. In 2015, we were celebrating 125th birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and the government had declared the day of 26th November as the Constitution Day. That's the first part of my answer. But on the second part, answering in the second manner of this question, I may tell you, sir, in 1922, Mahatma Gandhi dreamed. It was a dream of Mahatma Gandhi, and he has stated this way, that India must save their own destiny, and by hands of Indians, India can be herself. So that were the words of Mahatma Gandhi, that India can achieve its own destiny by the hands of Indians. And that is how that dream came to be actually true on this very day of 26th of November 1947, which we are celebrating. And I say it's not the Constitution which we adopted that we are celebrating. It is the day on which Mahatma Gandhi dreamt for this day. That is what we are celebrating as 26th.
That's news to me. Sir, then in the Constitution, can you give some of the salient features of Constitution? How many chapters, how many articles? What is the significance of what does it speak? What the Constitution speaks?
Yes. So I will also elaborate on number of articles and number of chapters that it is dealing with. But before going to that, I would like to answer this question differently. In fact, the structure, your question is on the structure of the Constitution. What is the structure of the Constitution? The structure of the Constitution, apart from the article, I would say that the Constitution itself, structurally, is a document which is a document called a social revolution document. On achieving independence, we have ended with the national revolution, but our social economic revolution still continues. And the Constitution is the document which structurally is been framed to achieve this social economic revolution that we are striving to achieve since the independence. The constitutional concepts, there were basically, in my opinion, there were four basic constitutional concepts with which the Constituent Assembly started enacting the Constitution, and that were national unity, national integrity, democratic and equitable society. These were the four basic frameworks with which the basic aims with which the Constituent Assembly started enacting or developing this very document. Now, in order to achieve this very basic objective, it was thought by the Constituent Assembly that it could be achieved only by socio-economic revolution in democratic social manner, and the democratic social manner can be achieved by democratic means, and the democratic means are legislative, executive, and judiciary. And the Constitution is the blueprint or the roadmap of functioning of this democratic machineries, that is legislative, executive, and judiciary. So structurally, I may say that apart from the articles and the chapters that Constitution possesses, it is rather a blueprint or a roadmap for legislative, executive, and judiciaries that our India would be running upon.
Every one of us are talking about fundamental rights everywhere, including the conferences, seminars. We talk about the rights. None of us talk about the fundamental duties, even though it is enshrined in the Constitution. Why and how and when the fundamental duties were incorporated in the Constitution, and how many fundamental duties are there in the Constitution?
Yes, sir. So you are absolutely right, Srinivasan sir. We usually talks about fundamental rights, but we do not talk about duty. But to answer your question, I may tell you that duty is the source of rights. If everyone performs their duty, their respective duty, then all the rights of the collateral or the others would be automatically satisfied. Now, uh, to answer the second point as to how this duties, fundamental duties, came into the Constitution. Sir, it has happened in the year 1976 by way of 42nd Amendment. And sir, you may recollect the time it was the emergency which was prevailing in the country, and the ruling party then was required to brought in certain amendment as to so as to meet with the emergency situations which country was going on. 42nd Amendment, sir, is the draconian amendment that Constitution
That is
has
a
ever
very
seen.
famous
Very
amendment.
famous amendment that,
42nd.
and it's a draconian amendment, and it has put the Constitution over to its head. It has turned the entire Constitution upside down. I may tell you, in by way of 46th Amendment in 1949, the entire 42nd Amendment was over
1979. 1979.
1979,
Yes.
by way of 44th Amendment, the Janata Dal government actually withdrew the major portions of the amendment that was carried out by 42nd Amendment, and whatever was left out was taken care by the Supreme Court in Minerva Mills judgment. But the only portion which was not been reversed either by the Supreme Court or by the rest of the in future amendment was the amendment to Article 51A, that is Part 4A of the Constitution, which actually added the fundamental duties to the Constitution. At that point of time, sir, there were 10 fundamental duties which were being incorporated, and that was done upon the recommendation of a committee which was popularly known as Swaran Singh Committee, which was constituted to report upon the situations on the emergency situations. And so after that, in the year 2002, by way of 86th Amendment, the one more fundamental duties came to be incorporated, along with one more fundamental rights in Part 3 of the Constitution, which is known as Article 21A of the Constitution, which is related to right to education to the children between the age of 6 to 14.
So this says that this amendment gave both right and duty to the
86th
citizens
Amendment
on
gave both
education.
right and fundamental duties. It provides a right for education and a duty of a parents to
Yes.
send their children to secure an education between age of
Excellent.
6 to 14, which government is required to provide as a free education to that age group.
Can we go through these 11 amendments one by one, sir?
Yes, sir. Surely we can. Surely we can. But the duties are not been. Yes, sir. I can see now. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the first duty that was casted upon to the citizens is to abide by the Constitution in respect of its ideals and institution, the national flag, and the national anthem. Sir, it was much required during the emergency time to make citizens understand about the values of the country that one must have in their senses, and in order to have that values known to each citizen and to abide by that values, the first duty has been casted upon to respect national flag and national anthem. That is was the basic background for that. The second is to cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired our national struggle for freedom. We have been now forgetting, so it's a high time that students be taught about the freedom fighters and the freedom struggles that we have undergone, and they must realize the problems and the difficulties by which we have could achieve this independence, and we must not lose this again. And that is how we must now the duty has been casted upon each of us to teach our new generations about the struggle freedom, the struggle moment that has been undergone. Yes, sir. Second, next slide, sir. To uphold and protect sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Again, sir, this is where we as a citizens now loses our respect towards our own nation, and that's how we see each and every instances that we see around us nowadays, which we actually, if we see, we loses our integrity. And that's what I have said in a very initial time, that the constitution objective was to see that national integrity and national unity is maintained. That's how the constitution was been framed, and that is what the duty has been casted upon us under article 51A. The fourth is to defend the country and render national services when called upon to do so. This is the duty upon us, sir, to protect our own nation. Even though it is not that we are being service, we are servicing, we do render our services with army or military or any other paramilitary forces, but it is still our duty to protect our nation in all the means, now by the cyber means, or the new generation is coming in the method of the cyber world or the virtual world. There also we need to protect our country to the extent possible, and that's the duty which has been casted upon us in this fourth part of the fundamental duties. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religions, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So these are the social evils that we have been striving to overcome since time immemorial. I may say prior to independence also, we have been struggling for our integrity with religious integrity, with integrity with regional integrities, sexual integrities, etc. And therefore, the Constitution has thought it fit to remember as our own duty to promote this harmony between the regional religion as well as sexual differences that we have. The sixth duty that has been casted upon us is to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. India is the basic uh, source. I mean, the resources of our country is our own heritage, and the culture that we are preserving, and we need to preserve it. We have been hybridized our culture with with the Western culture, and that hybridized culture has actually uh, reduced our own senses, our own sanctity towards our own country, and therefore the duty has been casted upon us to preserve this rich heritage of our culture, sir, in the sixth duty. Yes, sir. Seventh, seventh duty has been casted upon us is to protect and improve natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So we have now environmental protection laws and other related statute which actually protects the environment. But even though if we see the litigations going around the country, and the NGT, National Green Tribunal, which has been specifically constituted for this very purpose, has been flooded with the litigations of environmental violations. And that is how we must remember our duties casted upon us for the protection of this environment, and that environment actually protects the humans. So that is how we protect ourselves. We need to protect the environment. Sir, eighth duty casted upon us is to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. This is how we do not sit idolize. We do not idolize. We do not sit idle and do nothing. We need to I mean, freedom and liberty of us, whatever has been given to us under the fundamental rights or the other portions of the constitution, that liberty has to be, or the mind freedom has to be utilized in such a manner that we come up with such a revolutions in the in scientific or social manner, so that our country can achieve a higher country could achieve highest goals in that area as well. So ninth is to safeguard public property and to adjure the violence. Sir, if you we have seen our historical background regarding violations, and still till now, till date, we see violences around. Last we have seen Delhi riots, and that is the worst part of our country. Because of such violence, we go the country goes towards backwards in as against we need to go forward. And therefore a duty has been the duty has been casted upon us, which reminds us that we must protect our public property, and to see that violence is not been no violence has been done in the country. 10th is to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavors and achievement. So this again goes with the fundamental duties that we had under point 8, which says that whatever we achieve, uh, we we try and achieve by our own intellect, so that our own intellect goes to higher level, and that will result in our nation's intellect rises to the next level, sir. And the last one, 11th. So this, as I said, was brought in in the year 2002 by way of 86th Amendment. And the collateral amendment was also brought in under Article 21A, whereby the Constitution has made the right to education as a fundamental right, meaning thereby that government is required to provide free education to the children under the age of 6 to 14. And upon that fundamental right, the collateral duty has been casted upon parents to send their children for to get the education between the age of 16. And that is what has been mentioned in the 11th duties that has been casted upon us in 2002.
Is there any penalty for non-compliance of fundamental duties?
Sir, in fact, as I said, Swaran Singh's committee did recommend it. In the year 1976, the recommendations were that if to make the fundamental duties justiciable and to impose a penalties for violations of fundamental duties when it was been incorporated in the year 1976 by 42nd Amendment. But the Parliament thought it fit in its own wisdom not to adopt that recommendation to make fundamental duties justiciable, and therefore fundamental duties is guiding principles for each individual to follow. But I may say further, sir, that there are now statutes or legislations which has been enacted, and if you see each fundamental duties, you will find a legislation which actually imposes sanction in case of violations of such fundamental duties. So there are legislation which could be imposed, or sanction could be imposed through legislation to just to make the fundamental duties justiciable.
What are the significance of these fundamental duties? So now, after the introduction of the fundamental duties,
Yes, sir.
is there any significance to that?
Yes, sir. The significance, as I said earlier, sir, the the termed state, would consist of three major things, sir. It consists of sovereign, it must have land, and it must have individuals. Our constitution, as I said, is initially was a blueprint for executive, legislative, and judiciary, that is functions of sovereignty and the land that we have, the administration of land that we have. But but the third organ of the state, that is individual or the persons, there was nothing, there was no part mentioned in the constitution as far as the individuals are concerned. Constitution by way of 42nd amendment, the parliament thought it fit to make individuals, the third organ of the state, responsible also in the mechanism of in the mechanism or running of the constitution to the extent to which it is required. And therefore, in order to make that organ also functional, the constitution made this fundamental duties incorporated so as to remind each individual, the third organ, the duties that they have towards the constitution and towards the others.
Very nicely you have explained all the 11 fundamental duties. Sir, is there, so we have come to the end of the show, and as a closing remark, can you briefly, within 30 seconds, can you say what do you want the people to adopt?
Sir, I only want, as I said, that duty is the source of duty is source of rights. So don't run after your rights. Follow your duty, you will get your rights done.
That is your karma theory.
Karma theory.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Purvish, for for sparing your very valuable time at a very short notice. Thank you very much, and really we are grateful to you on behalf of Prime Point Foundation, E-Magazine Presents, and Next Gen Political Leaders. We are grateful to you for sparing your valuable time and sharing your thoughts on fundamental duties.
Thank you very much. Thank you.